Hey, Fanboy Nation.
This is your pal Daffy Duck, and you're watching.
We're watching Fanboy.
A fanboy, etc.
Fanboy Nation.
I assume Tom.
Today we are talking about a brand new sword and sorcery, D&D type flick that I wasn't expecting to like as much as I did. And it goes a long way to tell you how far the writer-director came from doing Bikini Babes in Space or whatever his first flick was called. But writer-director Dan Lantz and star of the film, Aaron Dalla, how are you today, gentlemen?
Woo! Great. Happy to be here.
And bro, Ninja Babes in Space that's a classic, man.
The fact that you knew about that is impressive.
It's great.
You know, we're called Fanboy Nation for a reason, right?
Right.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I learned a lot from that, though. I got to tell you.
You know, this movie, like I was telling Aaron before Dan popped in our pre-interview that I wasn't expecting to like this flick as much as I did. You know, Nicolas Cage had one a few years back. Vin Diesel had his gaming one back a while ago, and like there was just something missing in them. Like you could tell Vin was a D&D guy, and it was basically him making a movie about his D&D character, but you could tell that Dan hung out a lot in comic book stores growing up.
Yeah, I just wanted, there's nothing wrong with fun, and there's nothing wrong with good-natured, and there's nothing wrong with, bad guys being bad, good guys being good, and, a world that is clean, good guys are good guys are bad. You can have a lot of fun with it.
And on that note, Dan Lantz has been canceled for wanting to have fun and not being mopey and miserable and arguing on Twitter 24 hours a day.
Damn. Actually, I canceled my Twitter like a couple of years ago.
So Dan Lantz has canceled himself.
Exactly. No, it's actually funny. One critic said, is it okay to say it's just nice? Yeah, nice is okay. Nice is still allowed. You're allowed to have fun and be nice and not always be angry and evil and mean. You can have good fun. And that's what this is. You could actually watch it with your full family and not be embarrassed about it.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but like we have these ebb and flow in cinema history, and I'm going to go back to the 60s. Like we had like not necessarily the grindhouse film, but the grittier films, the dark, the heavy films, late 60s, early 70s, because of the Vietnam War. And then eventually into the 80s, we just wanted to have fun again because we were tired of all that. 90s, we wanted to be depressed because miserable people didn't know how to have fun. Or late 90s, early 2000s, we had fun again. It seems now we're in that depressive, mopey state again. And thanks to you guys with Alpha Rift, we get to have fun with a movie for a change.
Well, I think Ted Lasso is, the canary in the coal mine, that people do want nice. That thing is a mega hit because I think people are craving nice and fun and enjoyable, and you can just like it. And there's nothing wrong. You don't need to have evil. You could just have fun and have fantasy, and I think people want it, and I certainly do. I mean, I like movies, but other than the Marvel movies, what else is there? It's just a good fun time. So that's the direction we went.
And here you bring on Aaron Dalla. He's the protagonist in this series, kind of like the Gen X slacker that finds his way around. That's for us old people that are actually a part of Gen X that know the phrasing. But Aaron here is part of Generation Alpha. He just finished 6th grade and still has his boyish charms and hasn't learned how to shave yet. No, I'm just teasing you, man. But you do have that baby face, which was perfect for this role. When you get to sit there and you get to hang out in like a comic book shop, and then you find out, oh, by the way, my character is the descendant of these noble warriors, and we got to go through this. And like, I'm not going to give too much away except for what's in the trailer, but like the reset line, not only from the trailer and then putting it in context in the film, had me rolling, because for us older gamers, we remember that you couldn't save the game. You either had to play all the way through or start over every time you turned it off.
Yeah, and I know, and yeah, that it's true. It's like so many times we're like, time out, and it's like, no, so it's fun playing the hardcore people versus the fun people, and he's kind of like the Marty McFly of this generation, if you will.
Yeah. Well, you guys are doing something right. Aaron, so fill us in. Take us through the audition process for this, how you hooked up with Dan, how you guys are working on a second film together now, possibly a third. I might be wrong on the third one, but I know this is the second one for sure. And, take us through the process.
Yeah, this is my fourth project with Dan, what we're working on right now, technically. The audition process, I get this audition from my agent. I look at the script, I read it. I said, I want this role. I love it. I auditioned for it. I sent it in. I got the call back, and I met Dan in the elevator with the casting director on the way up to the callback audition. And I look over at him, and I checked him out, and I was like, "Hey, are you Dan Lantz?" And he knew who I was. He was trying to hide in the corner and be
I
like,
was like,
"Hey, how you doing?" Like he was hiding in the corner, but he was basically like, "All right, I want you to read with this girl, and I want you to read with this girl." So they were picking the Gabby and stuff, and I was lucky enough to book the job. Working with Dan Lantz was just a blast. We cracked so many jokes on set. We have so much insider jokes and stuff. And then we went on to shoot the D20 music video, which is actually pretty successful. It's got over 100,000 views on that. And then after that, we're doing we did a Star Wars short film as well. And then right now we're working on a feature film starring Bill Moseley and Kane Hodder. And that's another project that we're working on, and I'm acting in it, and I'm also his second AD. So we have quite a relationship now.
So it's good to have friends in high places. And the character of Gabby is played by Rachel Nielsen. She's a lot of fun in this film. You guys are doing something right to create this working relationship together.
Yeah, she's wonderful. Rachel Nielsen is wonderful. She's a pleasure to work with. We had amazing talents. We had obviously the great Lance Henriksen, Graham Wolf, Peter Patrikios, really solid cast, Allison Melandry. And working with Dan is fun. He keeps a really fun set, that stays focused in what wants to get done, but also it's like, let's have fun. Filmmaking is fun, so yeah, it's great.
Yeah, well, filmmaking is so difficult to do that if you can't have fun with it, it's why are you doing it? I mean, it's fun to watch movies, but making movies is really hard work. So you got to have fun, and you got to keep it light and roll with the punches, because pretty much something always is not right or goes wrong or is missing or broken, and you just have to roll with the punches. So last night we were on set, and then the rain came, and we had to sit in RVs for an hour and a half till the rain cleared. So it's just like, you just got to roll with the punches.
The great thing about Lance is people know him for having been in Aliens, but I love the fact that he's in one of my favorite Van Damme movies called Hard Target. And, he's done so much, from action to comedy to sword and sorcery and sci-fi and everything else. You have a living legend on set with you guys for this one.
Yeah, and he's really on board with this. He's on set right now, which is why he couldn't be here, but he sends his wishes. And he's real excited about the movie as well, because it's fun and he enjoys it. As it's fun. He gets to do something, for the whole family. So he's got a lot of R-rated movies in his dossier, and this is a good one that you can show the whole family. So he's pretty happy about it.
Dan, did you go back and what was the inspiration for the script in itself? Did you just want to have fun? Were you just playing D&D? Did you get a chance to play Dragon's Lair, like the old video game from the 80s? How much of that plays into this?
Well, actually, I'm, like you said, because of my generation, I really grew up on movies like Excalibur, First Night, even Sword in the Stone from Disney. I always loved those, and they were a big deal for me. And then I also like movies like, Ghostbusters, and especially Back to the Future, where you just kind of have a fish out of water kind of thing. And those two things together really are what, melded to make this essentially a fish out of water and sword and sorcery movie. And that's how it started. I mean, the original idea was a kernel back in 1995. Well, we originally wrote a script based on a comic book store and a comic book collector. And over time, that idea got very passe and cliche. And then I was at PAX one year hanging out, and I just was overwhelmed by the number of people who loved tabletop gaming. And I was like, that's it. I had my epiphany, and I'm like, this is it. This is it. This is it. Let's do it. So it was just like an aha moment, and that combined with all the other ideas just sort of melded into one thing. And it was like, this, I got it. And I went to my executive producer, Jim Beckett, and he's like, yeah, let's do it. This is great. And so the two of us set out to get this thing made, and it's been a great journey.
Dig it. And now when Aaron gets to be in the remake of Back to the Future, he gets to go back to 1995 instead of 1985 or 55. And I'll just be rolling around with a pager and just some baggy jeans.
Oh,
Yeah, I hope there's no. I hope not. I mean, you can't mess with a classic, but
yeah,
an original idea of that is definitely in the cards for us. So
yeah, I definitely think I know that they were talking about. I know Back to the Future musical. I've got my agent looking out for the audition for Back to the Future musical because it's in London right now when it does move to the US. But I know they were looking at, Tom Holland and other actors for the remake of Back to the Future. But I agree with Dan. There's some things you just don't touch. Don't touch it. You ruin it. Don't touch it.
It was like when Howard Stern tried to remake Porky's. It doesn't work.
well, also keep in mind the reason why I like Back to the Future and that whole era of the '80s is because they were all original ideas. And it was really important to me that I wanted to come up with something completely original. And, to use technical term, this is an original IP. Alpha Rift is an original IP. And when I built the story and wrote the story and built the backstory and the history for these characters in their world, I was really bobbing and weaving to make sure I didn't impede on, other people's franchises throughout the years, Star Wars, Harry Potter, Dragon Slayer, stuff like that. You just don't want to get in there. So it's tough. It's tough to find your own original path, but you can find it because it's based mostly on reality, and it harkens back to two ideas: Don Quixote and the Arthurian legend. Those two things mixed together, I think, are a good, is how we got here. So.
And speaking of Arthurian legend, what's funny is that right after I did Alpha Rift, I ended up doing a production of Camelot. So I stayed right in that night thing, and I played Mordred. So it was a completely different character. I played the bad guy that time. So I love anything that deals with knights or modern day knights. So this was essentially a dream job for me.
One thing I was really surprised with was, you get to see a lot of independent films, and we get to see a lot of even micro budget films. And this doesn't feel necessarily like an indie film. I mean, it's an indie film, but it doesn't have that like indie film, like misery cliffhanger, left you a wreck at the end of an indie film, something that you'd see at Sundance in 1998, because Aaron was 3 at the time. And
yeah, I harken back to what Dan said. I think people, given the environment stuff, people just want to have fun and be entertained right now. And I really think that's what he set out to do, and that's what we did. And I think that's why people are going to enjoy it, because people just want to have fun right now and just be entertained.
Well, you guys pulled off a family film, which is virtually impossible these days, because most family films are either for 3-year-olds where the parents have lost their minds trying to watch it, or the jokes are so over the kids' heads that they don't really get it, and the parents like, I can't believe this isn't a kids movie. That like you guys were able to find a balance between all of this. Like, how refreshing is it for you guys to be able to perform in something that I could sit there and watch, if I was a parent and had a 10-year-old versus, wanting to blow my brains out because it's a quote unquote kiddie film, or it has, kiddie titles, yet it's more for adults.
Well, my first order is I wanted to, I mean, in a way, it's like I almost, though I'm not copying Marvel, I wanted to feel like it was that level of tone, because I love Marvel movies. I love everything Kevin Feige has done with the action comedy is back. They brought it back, and I love the action comedy. But you can have action comedy without being, someone's head getting cut off and then they clip the joke. It doesn't have to be mean. It doesn't have to be gruesome. And like I said, so with Marvel, they're doing it, and it's like, well, we can do it too. We don't have the budget, but at the end of the day, it's about the characters, designing a really good superhero. Like this, we spent months designing this guy, months, version after version after version, sketch after sketch after sketch. And we just, we wanted something that was its own thing, that was not copying anybody, but evoked everybody, if that makes any sense.
Right. And
I think we pulled it off.
Yeah, because I could see a little bit of Cylon from the original Battlestar Galactica in there as well.
Yeah, I mean, you got a little bit of Cylon, you got a little bit of Shredder, you got a little bit of Stormtrooper mouth there, but it's it's its own thing, you know, and it's important because I really wanted it to have an expression on its face, you know. So there's always like an expression and a look, you know. But the circle eyes are something no one has done before. So it's like that's what makes it makes it ours, you know. So you had to find ways to get the characteristics you wanted. And I mean, look at it now. It looks like he's just mad at you, right? Hi, I'm mad, you know.
Listen, I got enough people mad at me. I don't need some sword wielding guy being mad at me on top of it.
Yeah, exactly. But it's oh, that's the wrong camera. There you go.
And also, the movie's just in time for Thanksgiving break when families get together. So I think it's a perfect family film.
You know,
that's true. Yeah.
Here's the most important question in all of this, though. When does the Alpha Rift tabletop tie-in game come out?
That's a dang question.
It exists. It exists.
Yep.
It exists. It is actually designed, made, and prototypes are in place. We will be putting prototypes on the store after the movie comes out before Christmas. And then depending upon how people respond to it, we'll make another version that's a little more sell-through price, and I'll do it. But yeah, we designed the whole game, the gameplay, the characters, the figures. I don't think I have anything nearby to show you, but yeah, it's got everything. It's got the minis in it. It's got, you know, it works all the different dices. It's got a play. It's story driven. It's just that you know, our long term is to build Alpha Rift as more of a brand, you know. So we're going to do, after the movie comes out, we're going to have a lot of product out. We're going to have a game that is all ready to go. It's just a matter of waiting for the right time to drop it. We're going to do some more short films in the universe, and even ultimately we'll have a sequel and then probably lead to a series. So this is just the beginning.
Are you going to do an animated series or live action? Is that what you guys are looking forward to?
Well, it's going to be live action is the plan. We have been talking with graphic novels, though, graphic novel artists to also do a graphic novel. We're just trying to find the right partner to get the right tone and do it right. So we're hoping to have stuff coming out over the next several years, and then another tentpole product like a movie, and then more little stuff. So the idea is keep going to alpharift.com and keep up, and you can get on the mailing list, and then every time something comes out, we'll just, you know, you'll get an alert, and you know, and you'll keep following it. So that's our goal.
I might know a couple of artists I could put you in contact with for this, some comic book artists.
That'd be great. Yeah, we're working on it. We'd love to, you know, we're taking our time to do it right, because there's a lot of, you know, rush stuff out there. So as you can see, the movie took a lot of care. Because of COVID, it actually helped us, because we were going to release last year, but then when COVID hit, we held off the release and just actually spent that last year just tweaking all the special effects and tweaking the audio and tweaking the music, you know, and using that time to make it even just a little bit better, you know. So we're going to just try to make it a quality brand that people enjoy. They know what it is when they go there. We want to explore the medieval side, you know, do some medieval stories as well, either flashbacks and future stories, or an entire movie series from the nobleman's origins. So there's a lot we want to do.
You know, there's so much that you have planned for this, and it's a franchise in and of itself. How significant is it for you guys today, especially with technology being so readily available and nowhere near as expensive as it was, say, you know, with the movies we grew up with? Like Back to the Future, you know, could be made today on a much smaller budget with the technology that we have even in our own pockets, because we have 4K cameras everywhere, in comparison to needing the model set and the big budget studios behind it. Is it also freeing for you guys in order to do it your own way without somebody sitting there and going, we need a robotic dog here, and we need, you know, a talking hamster or something else that's just added to the story to shoehorn it in because some executive wanted it there?
Well, I mean, the reality is, you know, your bread is always buttered by somebody. I mean, there are obviously investors for this movie who are financing this as well, but you want to work with people who believe in it. And so whatever, you know, they trust you to do it right. So, you know, so yes, it's freeing to be able to, you know, be the guy behind it, which is, I mean, I'm the final say. So if someone doesn't like something, it's all my fault. I can't blame anybody. But I think the biggest freer is technical visual effects. Visual effects are now very available for at the lowest of levels of budget levels. So there's a lot of effects in this movie that I could not have done even 5 years ago. So that really helped a lot because there's the effects you see, you know, the green monster and all that. That's one thing, but there's hundreds of other little tricks in this movie that just like there was one scene that we shot in a historical building, but it's a historical building that they have tours in. So they had to have all the emergency exits and all the fire extinguishers and all the safety alarms and smoke alarms. And so this classic building was covered with neon lights and big, you know, unattractive, you know, fire detectors. And so, but we had the ability we had to erase all of that and all those scenes. And it was like 100 or so shots. But the net is, it looks like an old mansion, you know, because if we had to leave all that stuff in there, it looked like we'd be in a museum as opposed to a private mansion. So that's really also a big thing. So that's why it doesn't look low budget, because, you know, I remember when I was growing up watching low budget movies, and you could see clearly like they were at the Navy Museum, and they're pretending to be, you know, having two soldiers having a talk in the Navy Yard, and it's quite clear they're just standing in front of like a museum, you know. That's so a lot of that stuff was fixed because we were in a lot of places that were public places that we made look like private places with all that hiding, you know, the safety stuff. So that helped a lot.
You know, gentlemen, I could talk to you all day about Alpha Rift and everything that you've done with this film. And I know we're running out of time, which is kind of heartbreaking on my end, but the film is on demand and in select theaters on November 19th. Let everybody know from both of you why they need to see Alpha Rift. And then on top of that, where can we find you guys on social media and connect with you guys in the film?
Go ahead, Aaron.
Everyone should see Alpha Rift, especially in time for Thanksgiving, because it's the perfect family film and it's entertaining and it's just a good time. And you can find me on my social media channels at Aaron Dalla.
And I want to say that you want to get on the ground floor. You want to be able to say that you're the first person to watch this. I remember when I was a kid, I went in a comic book store and I saw this black and white comic book called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I said, what the hell is this? And I bought it and I thought, this is going to go nowhere. And next thing you know, it's the biggest thing ever. And I'm so happy that I picked up that comic book that was ludicrous. And I can honestly say that I have the first issue of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. And I bought it when it came out. I didn't buy it on a collector's market. I just grabbed it and read it and threw it in my pile of comics. So I'm saying to you guys, be the first to watch Alpha Rift so you can say you got on the ground floor of this as well. Because
it's going places, baby.
It looks like it. I had a great time with it. And then, Dan, where can we find you on social media and the website for the film?
alpharift.com. Right there, alpharift.com.
Perfect. Listen, this is a great film. Alpha Rift comes out November 19th.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate that.
Listen, Wonderful. It's been my pleasure. Dan Lantz and Aaron Davila, it's been great talking to you guys. And we got to get together in person so we can, give away all the spoilers and like, oh my God, in the second act you did this and all that stuff that we can't tell everybody because they got to see the movie.
We'll catch you at a con. We'll catch you at a con.
Yeah,
you know it. All right, gentlemen, thank you so much.
Thank you, RC.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you. And watch it.